And I want to be respectful of your time. I know you've got a lot going, but there are a couple of things that I think we would want to leave the audience with. One is um, what can companies do to ensure that they're including people with disabilities in their target candidate pools? And then what are some tips that you would have for companies looking to actively hire people with disabilities?
So in terms of getting people into the candidate pool, the first is that you should be diversifying where you're advertising your jobs. I know that's as old as the hills, but the first barrier to employment is not knowing that that job is available. And so that's the first thing. The second thing that we encourage companies to do is once you're starting to build that pool and you're starting to build potentially employer brand language that's focused at our talent committee or our talent community, is to continuously re-engage, just like you do any other diverse community in your talent pools, in your recruitment marketing, and focus on what are some of the hidden gems that would be beneficial for people with disabilities who are coming to work for you. Is it the option to work remotely? Is it day one insurance? Is it, what are those things that might be attractive to us as a community that you can point out that will help pull us in? And the third thing in terms of growing the pool, it really is critical that we are not just a risk activity and we're not just a marketing activity. So don't try to BS it. We're a community that is so used to being told like, oh, we want to hire you, and then run away. Come authentically. And we don't expect perfection, but we do expect for you to try. And we'll help you get the rest of the way, right? And so it's really a very conscious and active thing, whether that's at the individual recruiter level or it's really at the talent acquisition level. This is a business strategy. And when you start approaching it that way and thinking of it that way, you'll find ways within your existing systems to help talent get more engaged. And then you'll have to repeat your last question. I just did a Julie and forgot what the second one was.
Well, I think you hit a lot of the points, right? One of the things is some of the tips that helps companies that are actively looking to hire people with disabilities. And you touched on those.
Yeah, so I mean, start in the candidates you already have in the pool, who've self-disclosed, who were maybe the tier B candidates. Get them back engaged, get them back in the pool, expand your reach into community-based organizations. And remember that most people with disabilities are not going to be necessarily associated with a community-based organization. They're going to be people like me, especially when you're thinking about professional roles. So how are you reaching out into our community from both a impact and a talent messaging perspective, right? So how do you get someone like me to want to bring myself to your place and also self-disclose and self-ID about who I am as a person? And really, when you think of it in those two buckets, it opens up such a large pool that we don't really consider right now.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you touched on veterans and veteran hiring. Any things that you would share? Because I know a lot of companies have that active focus on veteran and military hiring and military spouse hiring. Any things that you would share for people to be able to go and do that might be best practices around in that area?
Yeah, so I am blessed enough to be married to a veteran. He was 20 years in the Army and the Reserve, and he was a drill sergeant. So I know what it's like to live with a veteran, with a drill sergeant. And when it comes to veteran recruiting, I really had to do a lot of education, because my initial thought when we started really getting into like wounded warriors and those kind of things is that veterans would not be okay coming through disability focused hiring. That is not the case. They absolutely, some of our most successful candidates who were at like 5-6 years with like a Pepsi or a Synchrony were hired through disability focused activities. Give them that focus, tell them how to get through the path, what's the process, and get me to work. That's really was eye-opening for me, just if I'm honest about my own biases, right? And then, like disability, veterans are very used to kind of the flag days and the patriotic messaging. But I think I saw a survey about 4 or 5 years ago that said like 80% of veterans think that companies don't really want to hire them. They really just want to have that good PR message, that good marketing strategy. And I think it's really important that you come very authentically about who you are as an organization and what a veteran can bring to the table. And again, we're kind of going back to a really basic thing that I never understood until I was married to a veteran is my brother was an 11 Bravo in the Army, and my husband was an 11 Bravo in the Army. And my husband was a drill sergeant. My brother was a parachute. He was airborne, and then he went on to Farsi school, and he was in intelligence. But he still had the same military occupation code as my drill sergeant husband. And so when we're looking at those military translators and all those kind of things, they don't tell a true story of what this person has been and done and accomplished within an organization. And so, again, take that extra time, find out what that 11 Bravo really means versus just assuming that that perfect military translation happens, because it really doesn't.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, I think that's a great point and some great suggestions. You definitely shared some amazing work here. I don't. Do you have anything else that you would leave us with? I want to be respectful and get us out of here on time. But anything else that you'd leave us with here?
So I just saw another question pop through, and I'll grab it really quick. And so it says, how do you work collaboratively with HR and legal? Another really, really great question. I can tell you that legal is the most challenging, if I'm being frank. Every time we go in and we work with a company, they roll me out to deal with the lawyers. And just today, actually, earlier today. The really cool thing, the really big opportunity in terms of thinking about legal and HR with people with disabilities is that the regulations around affirmative action for people with disabilities very clearly say there is no non-disabled group. So that really allows, when you're thinking about providing opportunity, doing different ways of recruitment, or getting people into the pool and getting them hired, that sort of takes away a lot of legal's fire when they're like, oh, okay. And that was one huge thing that has come out of the work that we did with Pepsi right at the very beginning, was how do we make sure that we're not creating additional risk by providing opportunity? And really the most risk is that you're providing no opportunity and you're standing still. The regulations are very, very generous in my community about how you can create opportunity. And with HR, and I have found really that HR is a lot more receptive to talent with disabilities, and that's especially changed in the last probably 3 years. There is always a focus on that accommodation and that mitigation of risk. But I think as people in the HR community are becoming more aware of who we are as a community, they're more open to those conversations. And it's one of those things where, if I'm being completely honest, it's just a lot of repetition and showing people how a person with a disability can be successful. So there's nothing wrong kind of starting small and saying, hey, let's try to pilot hiring and see how it goes. Don't expect perfection, because no population is going to have a perfect record, including us. And then start to build that case with legal, with HR, with your business leaders about how this can be really great for your company. and then be prepared to say it again and again and again and again, because it takes time for people to get comfortable, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, I think this is all really helpful. I believe that we're going to have a lot of questions. Certainly, if you got questions and you didn't get them in, you can certainly email us and we'll get the questions to Julie. Julie, I want to really thank you for taking time out of your schedule. When's your next podcast?
It actually will be out in the morning, and I don't know if you guys know this, but it's Transgender Awareness Week, and Transgender Remembrance Day is on the 20th. So Torn and I talked about kind of just the basics of understanding the transgender community and how to better integrate them into your workplace.
Awesome. Well, we'll try to make sure that we can see that, and if you get a chance to register for that, definitely do that. Julie, I want to thank you. I really appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and take care, and hope you have a great holiday.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Cody.
Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.